get that monkey off their back. The Philadelphia Eagles finally get a win in Tampa Bay, and it's all thanks to the heroics of the defense stopping a second half collapse. The post-game show for Locked On Eagles coming up next.
You are Locked On Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. It's the post-game show. The Philadelphia Eagles barely hang on in Tampa Bay to get a win over the Buccaneers and to improve to 4-0 on the season. 31-25 is the final score. The Philadelphia Eagles offense on fire in the first half, and then they completely collapse in quarters 3 and 4. Jalen Hurts does not complete a single pass in the second half. It was the complete opposite result of last week's comeback win against the Rams from an offensive perspective. But the defense, their heroics, remain the same as they've been doing all 4 games this season. They are the heroes in the second half. Incredible turnovers, 2 by Jihaad Campbell in quarters 3 and 4. Quinyon Mitchell completely erasing Emeka Egbuka and Chris Godwin in this performance. Moro Ijoma with a giant sack on the final drive to close this thing out. Week after week, this defense, when they have to have it, just make the plays, whether it's a run stop on 4th down, whether it's Jordan Davis blocking a field goal, whether it's Quinyon Mitchell making a play deep down the field on a forced incompletion, it's Ijoma getting a sack. It doesn't matter. Jihaad Campbell getting an interception today in the red zone, forcing a fumble as well, and gotta have it moments. The resolve, the resilience of this defense is what is carrying this Eagles team so far through 4 games to an undefeated record, and to now beat a division rival in the Dallas Cowboys, the team you played in the Super Bowl last year in the Kansas City Chiefs, and then I think 2 of the top 4 teams in the NFC this year in the Los Angeles Rams and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is a hell of a way to start the year. Obviously, there is a lot to fix on the offensive side of the football, and there were some uncharacteristic things that happened on defense today, but I think this win makes me feel a lot better than it does. It makes me feel a lot more encouraged about the season moving forward than it makes me feel concerned. And again, we'll talk about the passing game completely getting erased in the second half, what is going on with Saquon Barkley in the run game, but we have to highlight the defense in this first half, in this first segment. Overall, you look at the numbers, Tampa Bay, they had 25 points. Baker Mayfield had 2 70-plus yard touchdowns. Bucky Irving averaged over 4 yards a carry. But when you look at what was happening in over 100-degree heat in Tampa Bay, the Eagles never win in this stupid stadium. It's a very talented offense that got 2 of their 3 receivers healthy and ready for this football game. The offense is stalling out drive after drive. Again, it's 100 degrees and the defense is getting no rest. For them to pull off that win, for Moro Ijoma to get that sack, and before that, Jihaad Campbell get that interception to hold off this comeback, it's one of the grittiest, gutsiest performances I've ever seen from an Eagles defense. And the fact that, again, I've said this a lot on the show the last couple years, but I can believe it because we've seen it from these guys in college and the last couple years. But the fact that the youngest defense in football constantly rises to the challenge and bails out an offense that has been, I don't know if there's ever been an offense in NFL history that's had so many resources invested in it, top draft picks, top tier contracts, like top 5 salary given out to these players, proven stars on that side of the ball. The fact that the defense, the youngest one in football, is the unit that constantly is pulling out these wins against really good football teams. I guess you could look at that from a glass half full perspective or a glass half empty perspective. I'm going to look at it as glass half full because there were some things from the offense I saw today in the first half that make me encouraged moving forward. They'll figure this out. And the fact that the defense that had a lot of change and a lot of turnover this offseason is the one humming on all cylinders, I think that's a win. And also when you look at it, Jalen Carter still does not look like he's in shape, clearly injured and not making the impact that we're used to from number 98. The fact that they are still looking this good is unbelievable. And I really want to highlight those 3 players I already talked about. Quinyon Mitchell, I had to change into the Guantanamo Bay shirt for this show because that was the performance of a lifetime. That might have been the best performance I've ever seen from an Eagles cornerback against 2 stars in that kind of environment, in that kind of heat. Quinyon Mitchell, time after time, just refused to let this team die. had 3 of the first 4 drives of the game. He was shadowing Emeka Egbuka, which I loved. I suggested that on the show this week. And he had 3 forced incompletions to force punts. He was all over the run game making tackles. And then on that final drive, he had 2 huge forced incompletions deep down the left sideline and deep down the right sideline. He had another deep pass deflection against Chris Godwin in this game. Like, that was a game you won because of a cornerback. And I wanted to cry tears of joy because the vast majority of my life as an Eagles fan and an Eagles analyst, normally Eagles cornerbacks can't do what Quinyon Mitchell did today. Like, even that final drive when it feels like everybody else on that unit was completely gassed, and justifiably so, he was the one saying, no, like, we are not losing this game. I mean, the fact that he was just tracking down 2 of the twitchiest receivers in the league, Chris Godwin and Emeka Egbuka. I know they didn't have Mike Evans, but that's a really, really good duo. And number 27 was erasing them from this football game. Like, I think he was the hero of this game, but Jihaad Campbell too. Like, the Eagles' last 2 first-round picks, they were the stars of this game. Jihaad Campbell now has 3 turnovers in the first month of the season that came at like the biggest moments of the matchup. He had the forced fumble against Dallas, only up 4, punching the ball out of Miles Sanders' hand. And then in this football game, like, yeah, in between, he gave up a 72-yard reception for a touchdown to Bucky Irving, but he forces a fumble on Irving the drive before to keep the Eagles in the lead when the momentum was clearly going to the Buccaneers, punches the ball out. He was tackling incredibly today. And then their backs are against the wall. Tampa Bay looks like they could tie the football game. Campbell closes in on a route in the right corner of the end zone, jumps the pass, and makes the catch. That's the difference. Is it wasn't a pass deflection. The fact that he was able to finish that play, I think back to the preseason when he made a great play and he was there. He was in position to make a diving interception against Cincinnati, and he didn't catch it. And I kept saying, like, that's a great play, but we got to finish. Like, Quinyon Mitchell last year was not able to finish those plays. Campbell finishes it in a huge moment. I love seeing that growth already from the rookie in 1 month, like learning from the preseason. I wasn't able to bring that ball in, but this one in a big spot, you're damn right I caught this football. Jihaad Campbell, the clutch gene of a day 1 rookie. I can't believe the Eagles got this guy at 31 overall. Heading into the week, he was already the highest graded rookie in the entire NFL, and now with 2 turnovers in the second half. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your defensive rookie of the year favorite through the first month of the NFL season. I mean, cornerbacks and linebackers winning games for the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, did I teleport into another universe? Like, where are we? This is hats off to Howie Roseman for learning from his past mistakes, adjusting his roster building philosophies. That's been a huge reason they're winning these games. Even last week, Quinyon Mitchell's job on Devontae Adams was a huge reason that you won those football games, that football game and this game today. So Howie Roseman kind of stock up, right? I mean, his past 2 first-round picks were the heroes of the second half. And what's so impressive, too, is like Campbell is a former edge rusher that plays inside linebacker. Coverage is clearly still, he's been incredible in coverage this year, but it's still the thing he's farthest along in from a development perspective. And his hands are not natural. For him to bring in that ball, I mean, you can tell Zach Baun's rubbing off on him because Zach Baun is the best coverage linebacker in the NFL. And Zach Baun had a great performance today, too. He was all over the place. The Eagles have the best linebacker duo in the NFL. So the defense, hats off, tip of the cap. You're the reason this team is 4-0 more than anything. And Moro Ejoma, my guy. I mean, what a huge sack on the final drive to back Tampa Bay out of even field goal range. Like, no points given. And there were so many moments that the pass rush in that fourth quarter were getting to Baker, but they just could not get him down. Like, there was a play a couple snaps before where Zadarius Smith got there. It felt like Uche was going to get him down. Jalen Carter. Nobody could tackle Baker, and he moved the chains. Moro Ejoma said, not this time. Bull rushes up the A-gap, completely destroys his block, his assignment, and levels Baker. I mean, that hit was unbelievable. 2 sacks on the year already for Ejoma. He leads the Eagles in sacks this year. 3 of my favorite players on this team were the heroes, and so I know there's some things to be concerned about on offense, but I'm just enamored with that defensive performance. I can't wait to go back and watch the tape. Quinyon Mitchell, Jihaad Campbell, Moro Ejoma, Zach Baun, Cooper DeJean was great in this game. I know Keely Ringo is still a liability in space as a tackler, but he had the fumble recovery off Campbell's forced fumble. He had a forced incompletion on a 4th down, made a couple key run stops, blew up a screen today. I think Ringo's clearly CB3 right now. I'm going to pat myself on the back for that one. I actually thought Ringo had a pretty good performance. The defense from top to bottom, I know Makuba, allowed that deep touchdown, which was brutal. But overall, they're the reason that you won this football game. And guys, can we just talk about it? We finally won in Tampa Bay. I mean, thank the Lord. It just felt like it was when they were coming back. I'm like, this is inevitable. It just feels like we're never meant to win in this stupid stadium outside of the one time in 2023. When they were coming back, I'm like, of course, this is what happens in this damn building. But we finally got it done. Monkey off the back. The Eagles are 4-0, and they stop one of the best teams in the NFC from jumping them in the standings. But guys, we got to talk about the offense coming up next. A Jekyll and Hyde performance, just like it was last week, but in the reverse way. Should we be concerned or encouraged by the offense? We'll get into that coming up next right here on Locked On Eagles. This episode of Locked On Eagles, the post-game show, is presented by PrizePicks. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Every day we make decisions, but on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Playing PrizePicks is such a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on player projections, like Josh Allen's passing yards, Saquon Barkley's rushing for a touchdown, or yardage over-unders. Like, you're in the game all the time. With Saquon, though, I think we might be going down. Although he did score a rushing touchdown today, so if you would have picked that on PrizePicks, you would have won that one as well. It's also fun to follow other players in the app, copy their lineups with just one click. It's so quick. You can make your lineup in under a minute. Go download PrizePicks today, download the app, and use our code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. And guys, today's show, we are also sponsored by Rugiet. What do you get when you have a bald eagle standing on top of a silverback gorilla riding a T-Rex? Confidence. Pure confidence. If you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Go Long. Go Long combines 2 doctor-trusted medications in one dual-action formula, so you can get Go on the distance. The effects can last up to 36 hours. That's confidence all day, all night, and even into the next day. The process is simple. Connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online, and if prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly right to your door. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly to your door every time. Ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom? Head to Rugiet.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for 15% off your first order. That's Rugiet.com, promo code LOCKEDONNFL. Make sure to use our code so they know that we sent you. It's the post-game show. The Philadelphia Eagles hang on for dear life to get to 4-0, a 31-25 win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Finally, the monkey's off the back. The Eagles get this thing done. But it felt like it was going to be easy after the first half. I mean, the performance from the offense and the defense, top to bottom, was flawless. The Eagles were up 24-6, and the only reason it wasn't 24-3 was because of a 65-yard field goal by Tampa Bay. But then in the second half, and hold on, let me just read you, you'll be able to understand the tale of two halves by just listing off Jalen Hurts' first half stats compared to the second half. Jalen Hurts at halftime, 15 of 16, 130 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, a 140.1 passer rating. That looked like Super Bowl 59 Jalen Hurts. Him and Kevin Patullo, it felt like, had answers to every kind of pressure package that Todd Bowles was sending their way. They had the answers, whether it was Jalen Hurts escaping the pocket, making plays with his legs, that long run on the right sideline, had a couple nice runs on the left side of the field when the pocket broke down. He had that really nice play to Devontae Smith where he rolled left, kept his eyes up downfield, made the pass across his body. He found his hot reads really quick, a couple nice completions to Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Grant Calcaterra. Kevin Patullo was in his bag. I mean, in the red zone, the Eagles remain perfect, 11 for 11 on the year. And it felt like he almost watched Andy Reid's playbook, like a lot of Andy Reid tape this week, because some of the plays, like the 2 Dallas Goedert touchdowns and the Saquon Barkley touchdown, the underhand pass, the little shuffle to Goedert over the middle, that was textbook Andy Reid. And then off the tush push formation, you run a counter reverse to Saquon Barkley, totally caught Tampa Bay off guard. There was nobody touching him. So I guess you could look at it. It depends. It's kind of like last week. this time the offense was elite in the first half and abysmal in the second half. Last week they were abysmal in the first half and horrible in the second half. So you could look at it glass half full that, hey, they are figuring things out here. Like, you can see the glimpses. Like, the first half was, hey, there's that Super Bowl 59 offense. Like, we know they can do it. Now it's about just controlling this high variance that you have right now, where it's just, again, this Jekyll and Hyde kind of showing every single week. Can you be consistent? But we know it's there. And so we know the ceiling's there, so you could feel good about it. Or you could feel very concerned because a team that is this talented on offense that constantly runs out of answers, it feels like, or just like for multiple quarters on end, look completely lost. I mean, it wasn't, I would understand why you're more concerned, because it wasn't just that they struggled in the second half or they slowed down what they were doing in the first half, but Jalen Hurts didn't complete a single pass in the second half. This Eagles offense had under 50 yards in the third and fourth quarter. So because it was so bad, I guess you could be concerned. I'm choosing still to be positive that they're so talented on offense, and you're seeing the glimpses, the second half performance of last week, how flawless they were against their biggest bugaboo in the first half, which is pressure, which is the blitz, especially coming from Todd Bowles and the Buccaneers defense. They looked like that Super Bowl offense. I want to believe at some point this year, they will figure that out. And Kevin Patullo's creative red zone play calling makes me feel like he can grow into this position. But they were so bad in the second half that, who knows? Like, it's still a big question mark. I think the thing I'm most concerned with, though, is the run game. I think the reason that the Eagles were able to close out games so easy last year, they were so unstoppable in the second half. They were such an unstoppable team when they were leading. Like, when the Eagles were leading in the second half, it was almost impossible to beat them. Why? Because they would have constantly like 10-plus minute drives, like killing quarters of clock, because Saquon Barkley and the offensive line and Jalen Hurts' legs just took over. And time of possession clearly went to the Eagles time and time again. But this year, they kind of lost that superpower where the run game, it has not been good, guys, for 4 weeks now. I mean, it hasn't been horrible at times. Like against the Chiefs, they were solid. The first half against Dallas was okay, but I mean, this is the second week in a row where Saquon Barkley averaged under 3 yards a carry. I think it was an even worse performance than last week. He finished with 19 carries for 43 yards, had the one touchdown, and averaged 2.3 yards a carry. Now, you could point to injuries. Lane Johnson came out in this game again in the second half. Tyler Steen went down as well, so you had Matt Pryor and Fred Johnson on the right side of the line of scrimmage. But even in the first half, Saquon was not getting it going. And I had on LOE3, I had my over bet for his 102.5 total yards from scrimmage. That did not hit. So I think that's what I'm more concerned about. The passing game, I don't know. I think this is just who they're going to be a lot of the times. And it's frustrating, but I think we've kind of gotten to an acceptance point there. But if the run game is going to be this bad, especially in the second half when you're leading, that is where you should be concerned. So I'm actually, after the second half performance of last week and the first half this week, I'm okay with the passing game. It was really bad in the third and fourth quarter today, but you can see that the glimpses are still there, that when the time is right, if they need it, they can still be nuclear at times throwing the football. But their identity, like their superpower, is still running the football. And if they lose that power, I don't know. Like, the passing game probably cannot carry you the way it used to. So that's where you should be concerned. Like, they have to figure out Jeff Stoutland, Kevin Patullo, Nick Sirianni, Saquon, Jalen, the offensive line. Like, they got to put their heads together and figure this out. Defenses are just honing in on it. But I don't want to say like that's the only excuse, because last year in the second half of the season, everybody knew Saquon Barkley was going to run the football, and they still were able to be maybe the best running offense in the history of the NFL. So they have to figure that out, or else the defense is going to have to pull a rabbit out of the hat a lot of times in games like they did today if you want to get a win. So I don't know. I'm not like, the sky's not falling for me. I think this team is so talented on offense, and I've seen the glimpses this year that they will figure it out. Like, that passing performance in the first half was so good, and it was so good in the second half last week that they can do it. But again, it's like, we got to be able to run the football or else, like, that's who this football team is still. Even me, I'm Mr. Pass Heavy, but with this football team, like, Saquon Barkley is still running the engine, and you need him. So we'll see what happens. But again, just another Jekyll and Hyde performance. It's just the variances. They have to find more consistency more than anything with running the football, with passing the football. There's been a lot of high highs this year, but there's been a lot of low lows, and there's been way too many low lows for an offense this talented with this much money invested in it, with prime stars everywhere. They got to figure it out for sure. But again, against Tampa Bay, a win is a win for me, and at 4-0, I'm still feeling better about this football team than I am concerned. And I'll get into why coming up next as we wrap up the postgame show right here on Locked On Eagles. Today's episode of the Locked On Eagles podcast, we are brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5 Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. What I love most is how portable they are. Big taste, tiny shot. You can take it anywhere and get that boost when you need it. I always go with my favorite flavor, like the lime or lemon. Anytime I can get one of the citrus packs, like those are my go-to. I used to work overnights at a radio station from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. 5 Hour Energy used to save my life. And the size, they're so portable. Take them fast whenever you need them, and they're completely sugar-free, which is important to me. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5 Hour Energy shots. Get the flavors that you love or be bold and try something new in store and online at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon today. And guys, today's show is also sponsored by America's #1 sportsbook. It's FanDuel. The NFL season's here. FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 back in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the entire app. I love how FanDuel allows you to bet in so many ways, from player props to, same game parlays. Just taking the Eagles money line, it feels like works every single week. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, somehow, some way, the Philadelphia Eagles are 4-0. They got through the gauntlet of the season, in my opinion, like the toughest part of the schedule. And it's not like it gets super easy the rest of the way, but I think the toughest part of the schedule was in September when, like I said, you played the Cowboys aren't great, but a division rival week one. Week one's always weird. That's a tough game. You won by 1 possession. Then you played Kansas City, who you played in 2 of the last 3 Super Bowls, another down-to-the-wire performance, another win. Then you've got, I think, a top 2 team in the NFC, in my opinion, in the Los Angeles Rams. The biggest comeback you've had since 2010 in that one. And then another close game against a top 4 team in the NFC in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So again, I know that it's been rocky. There's been things that kind of like last year and in 2023, you probably should be concerned about. Like the high variance of the passing game from the first half to the second half this year. Like they got to find more consistency. The run game just kind of turning back into a pumpkin this year has been very head-scratching, even with how much defenses are stacking the box. Like, this is still an elite offensive line. You have Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. I know historically running backs that had an incredible year the season before tend to regress, but not to this level. I mean, Saquon doesn't look like DeMarco Murray in 2015 by any means, but I'm kind of shocked that we've seen no big plays break free. He's been close a couple times, but you're not seeing the explosive plays from Saquon. There's just not a lot of holes opening up. They got to figure that out. But overall, you've still seen the high highs of the offense. And this defense, I think, is the best in football. And they're only going to get better. Jihaad Campbell, for as good as he's been this year, he's only going to get better. Same with Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. I was very encouraged by Keely Ringo's performance today. I really think that Ringo showed, even with at times he's a liability in space as a tackler, his tackling angles can be brutal. I think we saw that in the second half, but he clearly made more pop plays than Adoree Jackson and Ja'Cory Bennett. And that was my point all along when I got so many YouTube comments stop talking about Keely Ringo. Well, this performance showed why he should be the guy unless they trade for Reek Woolen, which would be my dream. But yeah, again, he gave up a couple big plays, missed some tackles, but he was in on 2 turnovers, a forced incompletion on 4th down. He got the fumble recovery in the 3rd quarter off Jihaad Campbell's forced fumble. Made a couple nice plays against the run. He had a negative tackle for a loss in the first half. He blew up a screen play in the first half as well in the red zone. So again, with Keeley, you're going to get some bad mistakes, but you're going to get those from Adoree Jackson and Jacorian Bennett too. At least you'll get some very plus plays out of Ringo like you got today. And the defensive line, even without Nolan Smith, I thought they consistently got to Baker. Moro Ijoma, 2 sacks on the year already. And they don't even have Jalen Carter cooking yet. That's the thing is, this team looks really good in a lot of ways, and they're undefeated against great teams, despite them not humming on all cylinders yet. And now let's see if they can figure it out. The schedule gets a little bit easier. They go at home against Denver this week, next week at 1 o'clock. Thursday night against the New York Giants, who lost Malik Neighbors today, torn ACL on the year. Then they play Minnesota, who's, I don't even know what to think of Minnesota yet this year. Solid, not great team. Then the Giants again. So the next month, Denver, New York, Minnesota, New York, not pushovers, but the schedule gets a little bit easier in the month of October. And then, of course, it revs up again with Green Bay, Detroit. You got Buffalo, Washington later on in the year. So it'll get tougher, but this was the gauntlet, if you will, of the calendar, of the schedule. And they did make it out undefeated. So I'm choosing to see it with a glass half full perspective because of how good the defense is. I'm trusting, like last year, the offense will figure it out, but they do have things to figure out. Like that second half performance cannot happen. It wasn't just that they struggled. It was like they could not move the football. That was so alarming for how good they looked. So good in the first half. Everything was working. And then they didn't complete a pass in the second half. If you would have told me Jalen Hurts, after having 1 incompletion in the first half, he's not going to throw another pass the rest of the game. No one's going to catch another ball the rest of the game, and they win? That's crazy. So they got to figure it out. The play calling was not great in the second half. Jalen, I don't know where he was looking a lot of the times. He did get injured at one point. He hit his head. I don't know if I don't want to speculate, but he seemed kind of lost after that. He just was not reading coverage well, force feeding the ball to AJ Brown when he was not open. So Jalen and Kevin, the building blocks are there. We've seen the elite foundation, the glimpses, but you got to find consistency. You got to figure out how to just win games easier for 4 quarters, even against tough opponents. It would be nice to just not stress in the 4th quarter for once. That was a very stressful first month of the year, but 4-0 is 4-0, and I think there's a lot of good to come from this football team. And there's a lot of good still coming out of this YouTube channel. Another hour-long post-game show coming up next with myself, Jason Martias, Harry Mays, so don't go anywhere. Stay locked right here on the Locked On Eagles podcast for daily coverage, Monday through Friday, and then Sundays as well. I'll be back in just a couple minutes. Until then, thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen. Each and every day, the Eagles take it 31-25 over Tampa Bay. Thanks so much for downloading, watching, and listening, and let's go Birds. Fly, Eagles, fly. See you in a minute.